fellow diamond painting addicts, and welcome back to Diamond Painting Anonymous. I'm Daphne, and I'm here today for this week's WIP and Chat. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. WIP, W-I-P, stands for Work in Progress, and this is mine. You are welcome and encouraged to go grab whatever you are working on and work alongside while I chat, or alternatively, you can treat this as a podcast and just listen while I chat. Today, I am going to be working on my first row of my Benedict blue. So I'm getting close to being done with this row. So let me zoom into where I'm going to be working and I will be right back. Okay, I'm zoomed out slightly more than usual just because I'm working on a bigger section than I normally do. I made myself cover sheets, but I didn't make enough to cover the whole thing. So this last row, I've just been using the cover sheet that came with it. Okay, so lots of stuff has happened since the last time we sat down. Before I jump into my personal life, though, let me apologize that I did not have a video yesterday. I am really struggling with some health issues. I've got some weird ringing in my ears, and I'm having some issues with balance, like dizzy spells and such. So I guess I'm going to be making my first foray into the healthcare system by going to see if I can figure out if I can get seen by someone to see what's going on with my knee, because it just keeps getting progressively worse, and see if that has anything to do with my dizzy spells. Because all the advice I've read is when your muscles get stiff when you're older, your joints get stiff, you should work them out, because the more you just sit around, the stiffer they get. Well, I'm in enough pain that I've gotten a cane to help me as I walk around. I went to one of my meetings for my volunteer group and it hurts to drive. So something is going on. Anyway, above and beyond that, that's why there wasn't a video yesterday. Let me jump into my personal life. What's been going on? Well, you guys, I know I fooled you because I said that there weren't any tickets available for Oak Island. Well, there were. So we went to Oak Island last weekend. And it turns out that they weren't all sold out. It's that they're going to start filming soon and they don't allow the tours while they're filming. So I guess they film in the summer, which makes sense. So ours was one of the last tours before they started filming. The guy that was driving our tram was Carmen Legg, the guy that's the blacksmith he used to be on the show quite a bit more. But we were blown away. We got there. On the TV show, the causeway that they drive across to get from the main part of the land to the island, it looks like it's this big, huge road. No, it's only a couple of blocks long. So my husband and I were floored by that. And we got there a little bit early, so we parked and we wandered around. There's like a little gift shop. The interpretive center was open, their little museum. However, I don't really have any photographs to share because, one, I didn't take that many, and two, the photographs as part of your ticket that you get to take are personal use only. So unfortunately, I can't put any up on the channel to show you what it looked like. Anyway, we really didn't get to see a whole lot other than the interpretive center and the gift shop. We got to drive by several of the buildings that are like, oh, this is the lab where they do a lot of the scenes from the show. But we didn't get to see anywhere where they're actively digging. They did take us to one site, which was where one of their original holes that they had dug, where they sent down divers and everything. We did stop by that. But other than that, it was just looking at trees and stuff. I didn't realize there's only one person who actually lives on the island. The guys who own the show own most of the island, but there is one guy whose dad had been digging there, Dave Blankenship. He still lives on the island. So the center road that you go down to see some of the stuff goes right by his house. We got to see one of the big boulders that's part of Nolan's Cross, but we didn't get to go on Lot 5 where they're doing a bunch of the archaeological dig and stuff right now, which I really wanted to see. It was a little disappointing. I mean, I'm still glad we went because I would have always wondered. We did get to do that, and we bought some souvenirs. Then we headed back to our hotel. We had discovered when we checked into our hotel that we were literally blocks from a giant IKEA store. So we decided to get up in the morning, because by the time we got back from Oak Island, IKEA was closed. we decided we would get up in the morning and go have breakfast at IKEA. It's supposed to be really good. So we did that. And then hubby had some things that he wanted to shop for. We didn't stay nearly as long as we thought we would, mostly because my leg was acting up. I took my cane so that I could walk a little bit more, but it still wasn't enough. I mean, I think you could spend 2 or 3 days at that IKEA and still not see everything. But we got to have breakfast. It was good. It was inexpensive. Hubby got the speaker that he wanted, and we did look around at some stuff. So I have some ideas for things that I want to get for the sunroom so I can move around and have a bit more storage in here for diamond painting stuff. What I really want is some of the cool IKEA pegboard so I can hang some stuff on the walls. But barring that, I'll take a nice like little storage case or something so that I can get some things off my cart. I bought like a little, let me get that out of the way. I bought like a little rolling cart, but because it's open, Oscar can get into it and does, so I have to have something in front of it to keep him out of it, which means I have to move stuff every time I want to get stuff out of it, so that's not the greatest. All right, I'm going to peel the rest of this off just because it's annoying me and making noise. Anyway, so we did breakfast at IKEA. Hubby got his speaker that he wanted, and then we headed to the Maritime Museum. So we did a lot of things this last weekend, that I can cross off of my list. We're going to go back because, of course, we didn't get to do everything, but we did a lot more than my husband thought we would. But I was determined, even though my leg hurt, that I wanted to go to the Maritime Museum and see the Titanic and Halifax explosion exhibits. So the museum isn't really huge, and those were two of its main exhibits, but it was a cool place. We went upstairs to the Titanic exhibit and did that one first. And I've seen a bigger, I think at one point I went to, we may have gone to Kansas City for it, I don't remember, but there was like a big traveling Titanic exhibit. And I think I've told you guys about it before, where they gave you like a name, and then at the end you got to see if you were a survivor or not. Anyway, this is not that big at all. It's in amongst other maritime stuff, but it was interesting to see. And in my head, the museum was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and there was going to be a cemetery right next door where we could go see like where some of the people were buried. No, it's not that way at all. The museum is actually right in the middle of downtown, right on the wharf. It was interesting. It was a holiday the day we were there, so there were lots of extra people because people had the day off work. Once we found a place to park, because all the roads are one way downtown, and they are building a bunch of new apartment buildings, so it seemed like every block the sidewalk was all blocked off because they're doing construction. It was still cool. I got to see, like I said, some things that I hadn't seen before. They had some artifacts and things. One of the things that they had was something they called a mortuary bag. And when they went back out after getting all the survivors off the lifeboats on Titanic, they went back out to look for anybody else, and they were gathering up bodies. And I guess a lot of them got buried at sea. I'm not quite sure how they decided who was coming back in to get buried on land or whatever, but they were making these basically canvas bags out of like sailcloth, putting all of the personal effects in the bag so that if the body was buried at sea, they could give the personal effects back to the next of kin or whoever. There was a family of 8. They were on their way. The dad had already gone to America, so the mom and all the kids were coming. They all drowned, which was sad. But anyway, the mortuary bags, I started to tell you that because they ended up doing the same sort of thing when the Halifax explosion happened, because they had the same issue with essentially the ship that had the munitions on it had so many, in the Halifax explosion, had so many, I think they said it was benzene and something else. It was so explosive. It was the equivalent of a nuclear bomb going off. It flattened, I think they said, an entire square mile just to nothing. It was crazy to see some of the pictures. Anyway, so we saw the Titanic part, and then they had an observation deck where you could go outside and look over the wharf, and they actually had some Coast Guard ships docked and I've never seen ships that big. I mean, live in Kansas, it's landlocked. There's no oceans or bays or anything of that nature, so that was a new experience for me. I'm sure I look like a complete tourist taking pictures, but that's okay. So that was outside, so we came back inside, and I sat down, took a little bit of a rest, and then we went and did the Halifax explosion part of the exhibit. And it was interesting. I don't think, again, like Titanic, I don't think I learned anything new necessarily, but it did have some like personal stories of people who had been in it and survived. And because, of course, people lost businesses and homes and livelihoods and relatives and all in one fell swoop. And this one girl had been playing at a relative's house, so she was far enough away from the blast, but they went back into closer where she lived, and it was all gone. All of her brothers and sisters, her mother, her father. She ended up going to live with an aunt, but it was still interesting. So we did all that, and then we went out onto the wharf just because we were getting ready to walk back to the car, and on the way we saw a beaver tail store. So for those of you who don't know what a beaver tail is, it's like a sort of rectangular piece of like flatbread that they fry, and then you can get all kinds of different toppings put on it. I just got the traditional one, which was cinnamon and sugar. So another thing off my bucket list, we stopped at a Beaver Tails in Halifax after we did the Maritime Museum, and I got a beaver tail and some ice cream. Perfect day. It's basically what I suspected. It's what I would call Navajo fry bread. And then you just make this kind of particular dough, and then you fry it up and it gets like puffy. And then when it's hot, you put your toppings and stuff on it. And it was good. It wasn't the best thing I've ever had, but it was good. And it was kind of a nice reminder of home because it tasted exactly like the Navajo fry bread that I used to always get when we would go to the state fair and stuff. So anyway, so that was kind of 3 things off my bucket list. I got to go to an IKEA, I guess 4. So I got to go to an IKEA, got to go to Oak Island, we got to go to the Maritime Museum, and I got to go to eat a beaver tail. So it was all good. It was a good weekend. We missed some things. We were going to go up to, there's a place called Peggy's Cove, which is supposed to be a really picturesque lighthouse. But we didn't know how much we'd have to walk, and I didn't think my leg was up to it. And we still had to go to the Maritime Museum, and I didn't want to do that and then not be able to do the Maritime Museum. So we'll go back and do that at some point. And then the lady that cuts my hair was telling me that there is a place called Lunenburg where they launch like a big schooner ship, like an old wooden 2-masted ship. Or there's one there that you can see. I don't know. I didn't quite understand, but something like that. And I still need to go back to Halifax because we didn't get to go to, I want to go to the graveyard where some of the Titanic victims were buried. We weren't really sure where that was, and by that time we were like, no, we need to start heading for home or we're going to be driving in the dark, and we're old, we don't do that anymore. So all in all, pretty good weekend, and still more things on my list for us to do, so that's all good. I had a good time. We bought some souvenirs at the Maritime Museum too, so I did also. So we did that. We were gone Sunday and Monday, and then Tuesday, we had to be back by Tuesday because hubby had to go do some medical work, and I had a haircut appointment, and I didn't want to miss it again since I missed the first one. My bangs were absolutely driving me nuts. But she did tell me that I could call her anytime and just come in and she would do like a quick 5-minute trim of my bangs. So that's good to know. Usually I just wait until they're driving me crazy and then I start hacking at them. That's when I know I need to go in for a haircut. So I got my haircut. Hubby got his stuff done, and that was a lot of stuff. But it felt, I guess, the weekend didn't feel busy, I guess. We did fit a lot of stuff in. I think hubby and I were both actually surprised at how many things we managed to do just on Sunday and Monday. Because, I mean, we really didn't get down there until it was time to go to the Oak Island tour, and our tour was from 3:30 to 5:30. And after, we did have a tram, but we still had to walk and stand quite a bit. It's not the walking so much that gets me, it's just the standing. But anyway, we just decided, no, we're going to do IKEA. And then I was like, hubby's like, we'll just save the museums. And I was like, no, 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 I'm going to do them. I got a cane just so I could do all this stuff. I'm not going to bring it and then not use it. So I still had to sit down sometimes, but once I sat down and rested for 5 or 10 minutes, then I was good to go for like another 20 minutes. So it worked out. It does seem to be getting worse and not better, though. I mean, I used to be able to go a couple of kilometers, like 4 or 5 kilometers with my son. Then I was down to 2, and now it's like I can barely walk for 10, 15 minutes on it, and I got to sit down. So something's going on. I'm wondering if my mom's fibromyalgia or rheumatoid arthritis genes have finally made an appearance. Because actually, my left knee, while it's not back to 100%, it's still okay. It doesn't give me near the trouble that my right one has now started giving me. And my left one never got as bad as my right knee is right now. So I got to figure out something. So that was my weekend and week. We did go up. Hubby went up once to go help my brother-in-law. They're still chopping down some of the trees, trying to clear some space behind my mother-in-law's house. So periodically he'll go up there, help cut down some trees. I don't know if they're going to get any wood out of it for next year, but they're sure cutting down a lot of trees. And then, of course, it was a busy TV watching weekend for us because the Montreal Grand Prix was this weekend, and of course, baseball is still on. So we watched some baseball and some racing, and it was a sprint weekend. So they had qualifying for the sprint, and then the sprint race, and then qualifying for the regular race. And today will be the Grand Prix race. So all of that's going on. We're going up to my mother-in-law's today for barbecue. I think my mother-in-law intended to do it last weekend because that was the holiday weekend up here. But we had already booked the tickets for Oak Island, so kind of put it off until this weekend. I find it so funny, though, because last weekend here was Victoria Day, and that's a holiday. But Victoria's birthday is on May 24th, which is today. So why they didn't have it this weekend, I still don't quite understand. I mean, I guess her birthday moves around. Maybe they just made it like the third Monday in May or something. I don't know. So everybody has a Monday, a 3-day weekend instead of having it at weird times, like 4th of July or something like that. Oh, and I forgot. The youngest and I also went and got our teeth cleaned. So he's good to go. And I got mine cleaned, so I'm good to go for that. And then I have an appointment later in the year to go look at all of mine. Hubby didn't go with us, so it was just me driving, and I've never driven that far before because it's in another town. And the town where we go, there's bridges over the river, but the main bridge that everyone is using is closed for construction. So you have to drive down to a different bridge, and I guess the main bridge gets a lot of traffic. It usually only takes us 45 minutes to get there. It took us an hour and 20 minutes. It's not the most fun drive, but our teeth are clean now, so that's all good. I think that's everything I wanted to tell you guys about my regular life. So, update on my diamond painting life. Well, as you all hopefully saw, if you didn't, please go back and watch it. I finished my Floral Frenzy, which was my diamond painting for our May Diamond Paint Along for our newest kit. That was my newest kit. So I finished that one, and then I decided instead of trying to start another one, I'm trying to finish up all these projects that I already had started. So I'm working on Benedict Blue, trying to get this one finished up. Admittedly, I'm very slow, and I don't know if I'm going to get it finished by the end of May, since today is the 24th. So that leaves me, what, 6-7 days? Maybe, if I put in some really dedicated hours onto it. This one is actually going fast because there is quite a bit of multi-placing, but there is also some confetti. So if I just sit down and work on it, it goes pretty fast. But sometimes I don't have the time to sit down and work on it because we're doing other fun things like going to Oak Island and I actually considered taking one with me to work on, but then I was like, oh, we're going to be, yeah, we were 5 hours in the car, but it didn't seem to take that long and to get everything out. Most of the kits I'm working on are bigger ones anyway, so I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna enjoy the trip and talk to hubby. We had said we were gonna listen to some podcasts while we traveled. We didn't do that either. We just listened to the radio most of the time and talked, which was fine. Okay, I'm gonna put those fairy dust away and I'm gonna go back to filling in this red flower. It is kind of nice that it's a symmetrical design because I can kind of look at it, what I've already done, and be like, okay, I need to do this here. However, I will say it has kept me from, there's a couple of them that I'm like, oh, I'll just fill this in with a different color. I just noticed this one has a hole in it. Let me dig that one out. Like I just realized I missed 2 U's right there, so let me fill those in. Anyway, sometimes like with this tea, I'd be like, oh, I'll just fill it in with another color that I'd have out. I'll be tempted to fill it in while I've got the U's out. I'll just fill it in. But then it won't match the other side exactly. So I'm really having to watch myself and be like, nope, I have to do it as charted or it will look weird. Okay, so what was I talking about? I finished the Floral Frenzy, so now I'm working on this one. I am going to also be kitting up the Rainbow Dragon because that is the kit that I'm going to do for June, both for DP for Pets. So don't forget, we're also doing another Diamond Paint Along next month for DP for Pets. So anything that can be a pet qualifies. So that will be my kit for that. I don't know if that one goes really fast and I get it done really quick, then I might do a second one. I don't know yet. I have plenty to pick from. And then we'll take July off, which I'm going to use to try and finish up some other projects. And then in August, we will have our water-themed Diamond Paint Along. So I have a couple of mermaid kits that I could do for water. I need to go and look and see if I have anything else that would qualify. Oh, I think the Christmas shells one would qualify because it's on the beach with the water coming in. But I don't know if I already am doing a holiday one in July. I don't know if I'm going to want to do another one in August. Probably not. I don't know if I have any other water ones done. I did all my teacup ones, so I don't have any of those. I could do my nautical beach hut, but I want to wait on that one because that one looks like it's going to be super duper fun and I want to wait to get some of my older kits out of the way first, I think. Okay, and then I wanted to ask you guys a question. I already got one response, but I always like to go to you guys and just ask a question because I get such good information from you guys. So somebody was talking about they're using the putty that I use. And I know the museum putty can be very temperature sensitive. And they were saying they live in a very high humidity area, so they're having a lot of problems with their putty being kind of gooey. And I've said before that, like, I'll stick, if mine gets really gooey, I'll stick my pin, even whatever. Like, I usually tear off a chunk of putty. I'll stick the chunk in the refrigerator and leave it in there for a couple hours just to let it get cold. Didn't have any problems with that over the winter, go figure. But just to let it get cold so it's not sticky and gooey and leaving residue everywhere. I did have one response, and somebody told me that they keep a little bit of cornstarch handy and you can mix in cornstarch to make it less sticky, which does like flour with bread dough, but I hadn't thought of that. But are there any other methods that you guys know of? Is there a putty out there? Because I freely admit I just used the museum putty because I still have a ton of it and it was super cheap. I tried the art dot and did not like it, but I have never tried the Diamond Art Club putty, so I can't speak to that. Or is there a putty from like an Etsy shop or something that you guys like? Yeah, leave a comment down below, inquiring minds, and then I can maybe try out some that won't be so temperamental for me now that it's going to be warm, or for anyone else now that it's going to be warm. Hubby was watching some video about how there's going to be a super El Nino this year, so it's going to be warmer than normal everywhere, which I think is just something that's going to keep happening. It's just going to keep getting warmer. So we're going to have extreme weather, which is not fun. But if I could get something, I mean, like I said, sticking it in the fridge for a couple hours works for me. But if you come home from work and you want to sit down and paint and your putty is all stringy, I can see how that would be annoying. By the time you wait 2 hours for it to stop being that way and be cold enough, it's time to go to bed. So, like I said, if any of you have any helpful suggestions, and you can leave names of Etsy shops, just don't try to leave a link. YouTube does not like it when you leave links and comments. So if you just leave the name, then I can go look it up. Yeah, I'm super enjoying this one. Even though it's square and that's not as fast for me, I'm still enjoying that it is not the squares that I was fighting with when I was trying to do my heaven and earth design, thank goodness. So yeah, I had a good week. I got to make my trip to Oak Island, got to see the museum, made plans to, well, we haven't made plans, but it's on our to-do list to go back and finish up some of the things we didn't get to do on the first trip. So yeah, that's always nice. And then we'll see where we decide to travel to next. I gotta say, guys, I'm really loving how this one is turning out. The squares are really nice. They fit together nicely. I like the symmetry of it, how one side matches the other. So I'm really enjoying this. So hopefully I'll get this little section finished here and I get rid of the noisy, crinkly plastic paper and just work with my release papers. I think that's it for me this week, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of the video. Before you leave, don't forget to do all the things. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be informed of future uploads. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching.